Fumbling for a transit ticket you can never find when the doors are closing. Riding a bike inches from speeding traffic, protected by nothing but a stripe of paint. Watching your street disappear under floodwater every time the sky opens up. In one small, low-lying country, none of these are problems anymore. A tap of your bank card gets you anywhere. Cyclists ride on roads cars are not even allowed to touch, and entire neighborhoods are built to swallow a storm and hand the water back as a park. The Netherlands has spent decades quietly redesigning ordinary life, erasing the small daily annoyances the rest of the world simply learned to tolerate. Today, we're counting down 17 Dutch ideas that fix problems you didn't know existed. Watch until the end, because number 17 is a single piece of engineering with 2 steel gates, each one nearly as long as the Eiffel Tower is tall, and it can seal the entire ocean out of a major city without a single human being giving the command. Number 1. OV-Pay. In most major cities around the world, taking public transit means buying specific paper tickets, loading a proprietary plastic smart card, or downloading yet another confusing regional transit app. Switch from a train to a bus run by a different operator, and you often need a completely separate ticketing system just to finish your trip. The Dutch removed that entire layer of friction with a nationwide system called OV-Pay. Instead of carrying a dedicated transit card, you simply tap your ordinary bank debit card, credit card, or phone wallet at the gate or the vehicle door. The same tap works on every train, bus, tram, and metro in the country, no matter which company runs the line. Behind the scenes, a secure contactless payment network records exactly where you tapped in and out, calculates the correct fare across every operator you used, and settles it all in a single charge at the end of the day. You never think about fares again. You just travel. Number 2. Separated cycle paths. In most car-centric countries, cycling is a tense negotiation with multi-ton vehicles, where a single painted white line is somehow supposed to keep a person on a bicycle safe. The Dutch decided long ago that paint protects nobody, so they built a genuine network of roughly 35,000 kilometers of dedicated cycle paths, known as fietspaden. These paths are physically separated from cars by raised curbs, concrete barriers, or wide grass medians, not just markings. The whole system follows a strict road hierarchy where cars are treated as guests on local streets and are simply barred from the cycle network entirely. The paths get their own smooth asphalt, their own miniature traffic signals, and their own lighting at night, which turns cycling from an extreme sport into a calm, predictable way to get around. Number 3. Room for the river. For most of modern history, flood control has been a contest of pure resistance. Engineers build the walls and dikes higher and tighter against the riverbank to hold the water back. The flaw hides until the worst moment. When a river finally swells past what the walls can take, they fail all at once, and the flood that follows is fast and catastrophic. A Dutch program called Ruimte voor de Rivière inverted the entire idea. Rather than squeezing the rivers harder, they deliberately lowered dikes, dredged riverbeds deeper, and moved barriers further back from the water to open up wide, dedicated floodplains. When heavy rain pushes levels up, the extra water spreads safely into those open zones, which spend the dry months as nature reserves and recreation parks. The cities stay dry because the design works with the physics of the river instead of fighting it. If you're enjoying this so far, tap the like button. It tells YouTube to show more of these quietly clever Dutch ideas to people like you. And if you love discovering things you never knew existed, subscribe so the rest of this countdown finds its way back to you. Number 4. The wireless standards behind everything. Not long ago, connecting 2 devices meant a drawer full of proprietary cables and adapters, each brand effectively speaking its own language. A surprising amount of the wireless freedom we now take for granted traces back to Dutch engineering. At NCR's laboratories in the Netherlands, a team led by the Dutch engineer Vic Hayes, often called the father of Wi-Fi, chaired the international group that wrote the first global wireless networking standard and pushed regulators to open the 2.4 GHz band for everyone to use, freely and without a license. Instead of locking the technology inside one company's product, they built it as an open standard any manufacturer could adopt. That single choice is the reason a laptop, a phone, and a printer from 3 different companies can all join the same network without a second thought. The same Dutch engineering tradition produced Jaap Hartsen, the man who invented Bluetooth, quietly clearing away the last tangle of cables from daily life. Number 5. Underground refuse systems. Walking down a typical city street often means stepping around piles of plastic garbage bags that block the sidewalk, split open, and draw in pests while they wait days for a collection truck. Dutch urban planners solved that by moving the entire waste system underneath the pavement. At street level, all you see is a small, clean metal pillar with a secure hatch. Drop a bag inside and it falls into a large sealed concrete vault buried below the road, where the odor stays contained and rodents can't reach it. When the vault is full, a specialized truck pulls up, hooks onto the pillar, lifts the whole underground container out of the ground, empties it, and lowers it back into place in a matter of minutes. The street stays clean, and the garbage simply disappears from view. Number 6. The Woonerf, or living street. In a typical residential neighborhood, the street outside your home is a straight strip of asphalt that quietly encourages drivers to speed, turning the space where children play into a hazard. The Dutch invented an answer called the Woonerf, which translates roughly to a living yard. These streets are rebuilt with brick paving, deliberate curves, planters set into the roadway, and no traditional curb or sidewalk separating people from cars. The layout makes it almost physically impossible to drive fast, so vehicles slow to a walking pace on their own. And legally, the full width of the street becomes shared space where people on foot and children at play have the right of way. A dangerous through road becomes an extension of the home. Number 7. Underground bicycle parking hubs. When a whole city commutes by bicycle, the area outside a major train station can collapse into chaos, with bikes chained to every railing, blocking exits and burying public squares. To prevent that, the Dutch build enormous bicycle parking garages directly beneath their busiest stations. The facility under Utrecht Central Station holds more than 12,500 bicycles across 3 underground floors, which makes it the largest bike parking garage in the world. A gentle cycling ramp lets riders roll straight inside without getting off the saddle, and sensors above every rack track which spaces are open and guide you to them. What could be a frustrating hunt for a spot becomes a smooth handoff from bike to train. Number 8. The Turbo Roundabout. Multi-lane roundabouts have a reputation for causing crashes because drivers are forced to change lanes inside the circle, which leads to side swipes and sudden cutoffs right where everyone is merging. A Dutch traffic engineer named Bertus Fortuyn fixed it with the turbo roundabout. Raised concrete dividers and a spiral layout remove the need to change lanes inside the roundabout altogether. You choose your exit lane before you ever enter, and once you're in, the physical barriers carry you along a single curving path that delivers you to the right exit with no weaving at all. By removing those conflict points, the design cuts the most serious collisions dramatically by as much as 70% at some intersections. Number 9. Porous asphalt, or Zeer Open Asphalt Beton. Driving a highway in a heavy downpour is genuinely dangerous because water pools on the smooth surface and lifts your tires into a hydroplane, while the spray thrown up by trucks ahead blinds everyone behind them. The Dutch motorway network solved this by paving its highways in a special material called Zeer Open Asphalt Beton, which means very open asphalt concrete. It's built from larger stones with interconnected air gaps running all the way through, instead of being packed tight with fine sand. When rain hits it, the water doesn't sit on top. It drains straight down through the surface and out to channels at the roadside. The road stays dark and dry, the blinding spray vanishes, and wet weather crashes drop sharply. Number 10. Continuous sidewalks. Walking along a city street normally means stepping down off the curb at every side street into the path of cars turning the corner without ever really looking for you. The Dutch flipped that priority with the continuous sidewalk. Instead of the footpath stopping at each junction, the sidewalk runs straight across the mouth of the side street, keeping the same height, the same surface, and the same color the entire way. Any driver who wants to turn in has to climb a ramped threshold up onto that sidewalk, which sends an unmistakable physical signal that they are the guest here, crossing into a space that belongs to people on foot, and they yield. Number 11. Ecoducts. A high-speed motorway cutting through a forest creates a quiet disaster for wildlife, slicing habitats in two, causing constant animal collisions and isolating populations until they start to suffer from inbreeding. The Dutch answer is the ecoduct, a wide, heavily planted wildlife bridge that arches over an entire motorway. Unlike a bare concrete overpass, these are layered with deep native soil, mature trees, and dense undergrowth that continues the forest straight across the road. Paired with long stretches of fencing that funnel animals toward them, ecoducts let deer, wild boar, and badgers cross a busy highway in safety, most of them never realizing there's traffic rushing beneath their feet. Number 12. Green-roofed bus shelters. An ordinary bus stop has a bare glass or metal roof that bakes in the sun, adding to the heat of the city while doing nothing useful in return. In cities like Utrecht, Hundreds of shelters have been fitted with living roofs planted with sedum, a tough, low-maintenance succulent. Each little rooftop quietly does several jobs at once. It absorbs solar heat and cools the air around it, traps fine dust from passing traffic, soaks up rainwater that would otherwise overload the drains in a storm, and offers food and habitat to struggling populations of urban bees and butterflies. A piece of street furniture nobody thinks about becomes a tiny working ecosystem. Number 13. Water plazas, or waterpleinen. A sudden cloudburst can overwhelm a city's storm drains in minutes, turning a public square into a muddy, flooded mess and damaging everything around it. The Dutch built a clever double-purpose answer called the water plaza. On a dry day, it's an ordinary sunken public space with skate ramps, sports courts, and tiered seating where people gather. When a violent storm hits, that same plaza becomes a reservoir. Rainwater from the surrounding rooftops and streets is deliberately channeled into its lowest basins, where it holds back hundreds of thousands of liters of runoff, safely away from homes and shops until the city's drainage has caught up and can take it. Then the water drains away and the square goes back to being a square. Number 14. Smart highway lane management. Traffic on a busy motorway often jams for no visible reason because a small slowdown miles ahead triggers a chain reaction of braking that ripples backward into a wall of stopped cars and into the rear-end crashes that follow. The Dutch Road Authority heads this off with sensors built into the asphalt and digital signs hanging over every lane. The system watches the speed and density of traffic in real time, and the instant it detects cars bunching up ahead, the overhead signs lower the speed limit for that exact stretch and flash a warning. Drivers approaching get the message early and ease off smoothly, smoothing out the sudden braking spikes before they ever harden into a jam. Number 15. The sand motor. Coastal towns around the world fight beach erosion the hard way, dredging and pumping sand back onto the shore every single year, only to watch the winter storms drag it away again. The Dutch tried something far smarter, a nature-based design called the Zand motor, or sand motor. In one enormous operation, they dropped roughly 21 million cubic meters of sand into a single hook-shaped peninsula off the coast of South Holland. Instead of fighting the sea, the design hands the work to the sea. Over about 20 years, the natural pull of wind, waves, and currents slowly spreads that giant reserve of sand along the coastline on its own, reinforcing some 20 kilometers of shore without the constant, expensive intervention the old method demanded. Number 16. The green wave for cyclists. Riding through a busy city center, a cyclist loses all their momentum stopping at one red light after another, which wears the legs out and tempts tired riders to jump the signal. To keep human-powered traffic flowing, Dutch cities set up green wave systems tuned for bikes. Sensors detect the speed and size of an approaching group of cyclists, and lights set into the path, or a small digital sign beside it, tell riders the exact speed to hold to hit every coming signal on green. Match that pace and the lights simply open ahead of you, one after another, turning a stop-start grind into a single uninterrupted glide. Number 17. The Maeslantkering storm surge barrier. Rising seas and ferocious winter storms are an existential threat to a low-lying city, and for a place like Rotterdam, one of the busiest ports on Earth, the obvious fix is impossible. Build a wall high enough to stop a historic surge, and you cut off the shipping lanes that keep the whole economy alive. So the Dutch built something else entirely, the Maeslantkering, one of the largest moving structures ever made. It's two hollow steel gates, each one nearly as long as the Eiffel Tower is tall, resting on enormous ball joints on either bank of the shipping channel, leaving it wide open in normal weather. The entire system is automated, run by a computer that watches the weather and the sea around the clock. When it predicts a surge of around 3 meters above normal, it makes the call on its own, swinging the two giant arms out to meet in the middle of the waterway, then flooding them with water so they sink onto a prepared bed on the riverbed and seal the city off from the ocean, protecting millions of people without one manual command from a human hand. If you want to see more of what the Netherlands is quietly doing better than the rest of the world, like this video and subscribe, and go watch the one waiting for you on the screen right now.